Hi everyone, welcome back to Be Rich. I have Sashwath with me today. We've been talking about investing in American markets. We've been talking about investing in Japan. And this channel has always been the proponent of that we look at more than Indian shores. That idea behind Be Rich is to explore the world market and open our, windows to the world and see what is happening and see if there's opportunities as investors sitting in India. Do we see opportunities? And one of the things that's been coming in our radar recently has been Sweden. I know Sweden is famous for lots of things, including IKEA and their meatballs and many things. So, lo and behold, the stock market has been lighting up the news headlines for some time. And I thought I'll ask Shashwat to dive into this, and maybe me and him can discuss it. And you may learn something from this, which may help you in your investment journey. So, Shashwat, what do we have about Sweden?
Right. Um, so, from what a lot of news agencies are reporting, plus financial papers, the pink press is reporting, is that Sweden seems to be the place to go to in Europe, apart from the UK. But considering that Brexit has happened and the UK is now engaging in a policy of isolate and do your own thing policy, which is what they're engaging in, Sweden seems to be the place to be for markets and trying to list IPOs and trying to, in general, have anything to do with the financial markets. It seems like Sweden, then Italy is the place to be.
Correct. If you're looking for a company and you're looking for funding and you want capital, seems to be Sweden is willing to give capital, right?
Yeah. And Sweden has overtaken countries like Italy, which was supposed to be the mercantile capital of Europe. At one point, it had the biggest banks, it had all the merchant bankers sitting in Italy, but it seems to be no more compared to Sweden. So let's talk about Sweden. What is Sweden doing? Why is Sweden considered to be such a lucrative place to be in mainland Europe? So the reason is twofold. So what Sweden has done is it has brought over a few decades. This is not a single day thing. There's no one big reform that can be pointed towards to say that this is why Sweden is doing well. It's been a work in progress. Like they say, Rome wasn't built in a day. I guess Sweden wasn't built in a day.
No.
So you have decades and decades worth of reforms which Sweden has undergone. This isn't to say that other European nations haven't done the same thing, but Sweden has done it at a scale which is incomparable. Maybe the UK can only be the other platform of comparison. So when we talk about what Sweden has done, they made it very simple for its retail investors to understand taxation. So they don't tax you on different things like we do in India. So in India, for you to open up an equity account and then figure out taxation is going to be a big pain for you, because there's going to be taxes on your dividends, there's going to be taxes on capital gains, and so there are multiple different taxes which are levied here at different stages, some of which can be redeemed, some of which cannot be redeemed. So there's a lot to talk about. However, in Sweden, it's a one-stop shop where they basically tell you that, look, we're going to merge everything into your account value and we're going to tax that and 1% of that, which is very reasonable compared to what kind of taxation we go through in terms of capital gains. So Sweden has been very kind to its investors. And another thing which Sweden has done is it even before other countries around the world enforced this, Sweden allowed their citizens to invest in the fund of their choice for their equivalent of their 401k.
Retirement, yes.
Yeah, their retirement account. The equivalent of their retirement account, they allowed their retail investors to figure out which fund they want to allocate to, which was revolutionary during the time in which they brought it about.
Correct.
So I think only the US had enabled, or I'm not sure even if the US had enabled this before. So given these monumental reforms which Sweden had made in the past, and Sweden continues to make itself a country viable for financial activity, and it has made listing IPOs very easy. In fact, they court people to come and list IPOs in Sweden. So some of you may recognize that a lot of major Swedish companies like Spotify has gone and listed abroad. But if you look at their other smaller domestic companies, they list in Sweden. They don't go to any other place like UK, especially after Brexit. They don't go to the UK. And even small companies from other European nations come to Sweden to come and list their companies. So this boom in Sweden is being mainly driven by medium-sized enterprises, and not the kind of medium-sized enterprises we face in India, but rather larger enterprises which are medium-sized for European countries, and small enterprises in the country which list in Sweden. So given that we have this information about Sweden, what are some actionable sort of steps we can take as investors to look into it? Is this all a bubble? Is this something which will, burst the next day?
It is sustainable.
Is it sustainable? Well, that's the question we're here to answer, because that's the point of this channel. We're talking about actionable steps. So the thing about Sweden is that, as with any other stock market, you have opportunities. You definitely have opportunities. And the problem is that it's going to be difficult to figure out which opportunity is the one for you, because now you'll have to keep track of three different ways of filing finances. So you have the 10K, which is the US system. Then you have the Japanese equivalent of the 10K. And then you're looking at, obviously, the Indian system of their annual report. And now you'll have to familiarize yourself with the European way of accounting. So this may be a little bit of a challenge for our viewers at home, but this is something which is worthwhile, because if you're looking at places to invest in Europe, London seems to be extremely cheap, which bodes well for great opportunities. But at the same time, Sweden, even though it may not seem to be a great place to invest, it's actually a wonderful place. It's almost like an diamonds in the rough type of situation, where you have a very developed financial market with many companies in Europe being listed, and you can take your pick and choosing of which company you want to pick up. And Sweden is known for having small companies which no one's ever heard of listed in their stock market. So I'm sure that if you have a screener equivalent in Europe, if you use that to filter out certain companies according to fundamentals, you would be able to find a lot of companies listed in Sweden which you haven't heard about. And with further digging, you'll find out a lot of gems hidden in their stock market. So that's one thing. And quickly, before we move on other actionable steps, one thing to note on why Sweden has been able to become so successful is because their pension funds have been investing in these funds. So Sweden has made it very easy for their pension funds to invest in equity markets. This is their biggest driving force for why Sweden is such a financial powerhouse, because at the end of the day, people want to list their companies where the markets are flush with cash. And markets are flush with cash when you have institutional investors backing your market. So the reason why Sweden has such a deep market is because Sweden has allowed its population, one, to invest in pension funds with ease, and second, you have allowed pension funds to invest in the stock market and in mutual funds, enabling the market to have a lot of depth. So even though Sweden may not seem to be an extremely broad-based market, the market depth in terms of how much money is being actually passed around in the market is huge. And this usually means that, like I said before, there are probably many opportunities which we can look for and try to purchase in the Swedish market. But given that our audience is already familiar with the US and Japanese markets, you're not missing out on much, in the sense that the US market is still the largest market. It's the financial hub of the world. What Sweden is to Europe is what US is to the world. So given that point, I'd still say that you're not missing out. Please don't suffer from FOMO. This is just a topic of interest, because when we talk about Europe, usually we talk about the British. We don't talk about mainland countries where you might have investment opportunities. But if you're looking for something outside of the norm, then you have Sweden, which is a place where you can look into and look for companies which are small and which go unrecognized in the Swedish market. What do you think about this?
Yes, and Sweden historically has created some of the world's largest companies, like I said, IKEA, and Scandinavia is also very ripe for these kind of innovative companies. So, but also do realize one of the main reasons why investors like places like Sweden is because the laws work. As an investor, your money and your funds are protected. And those are the two most important things. One is that you have legal recourse, and two, your money is protected. So these opportunities there in Sweden are there, and it's safe because you're in Western Europe. And it's an opportunity to investigate and explore. I'm not saying go and immediately buy Swedish companies, but it gives you opportunities to explore and learn. And that is something as an investor you should always be trying to do, is to expand your horizon and see where these pockets are there. And that's the main reason we brought this topic to you, is to encourage you to expand and see where it is. We've always spoken about Germany, we've spoken about Italy, we've spoken about even Dutch, and we've spoken about the UK.
Yeah.
Scandinavia is also a great place to look at as an investor. Even real estate in Sweden right now is very cheap compared to rest of Europe. If you're looking for a great place to go and settle down and buy a house for yourself, Sweden may not be a bad option. And believe it or not, most Swedes do speak English. It's not like where you have to learn the language to survive. Swedes do speak English, and doing business there is not a very difficult thing. So, if anything, I just wanted to spark your curiosity into exploring and investigating a little more than we usually do. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you found it informative and entertaining as always. And me and Shashwat will see you in another one soon.
Thank you.
It's a great privilege and honor that so many of you in thousands have subscribed to my channel and have supported me. I have written 2 books in English, The Alchemy of Money and Ordinary Stocks, Extraordinary Profits. These books are published by us and are ready. If you want to procure a copy, send us a message to the WhatsApp number given below and my team would respond to you. If you want an Amazon Kindle copy, you can click the link below. Finally, those who wish to consult with me can send a mail to berichenglish@gmail.com. Once again, I thank you for your support. If you like this video, press the subscribe button of my channel, hit the like button and turn on the bell notification.